Counselor Jen here. Today I want to talk about a very common technique I use to help clients um, with their thinking. A lot of people think very distortedly. Frankly, that's what it is, distorted thinking, based on some kind of irrational, well, not necessarily irrational, but just based on some kind of negative belief. Rational or irrational really depends on the experience. Um, so, a lot of times people have what I call a filter, which means that you have some kind of negative message that is pre existing that you bring into your communication with people, your relationships, um, and a lot of times it's based on worth and value. Almost always, if you want to boil down a lot of problems with thinking, you're going to come to some kind of negative message that was put there um, that somehow made the person feel devalued or undervalued or um, not worthwhile or worthy. So then they apply that to their lives and continue to perpetuate that wound on themselves as they participate in it by their negative thinking. So, for instance, if I, as a kid, and I just did a podcast with, about the authentic self, a lot of kids are really wounded by their caregivers in a sense that somehow they're communicated, either real or perceived, that they're not valuable to their parent or their caregiver. And so that leaves them with this negative message that I'm not valuable. So maybe it's because their parent didn't listen to them or didn't know them or didn't hear them. So they felt like they were not heard. So they automatically assume when they're interacting with other people that no one cares what they have to say. So they live their life silently out of a response to their childhood wound, or they are more defensive about being heard. And that can look like kind of being aggressive in speech, kind of being um, more defensive and what did you say to me kind of thing, and who do you think you are kind of stuff, like those kind of thoughts, whether they're verbal or internal, um, rather whether we verbalize them or we internalize them. So a lot of times we are angry with people for treating us a way that they aren't really treating us. We are interpreting their behaviors through our filter, and our filter determines what we see. So if we believe that we're not heard, we've contaminated any interaction that we have with that preconceived idea. So how different would it be if you were able to communicate authentically without that filter? It would be very different. You could actually hear what people are saying. You could actually communicate from your value system rather than your fear of that person's approval or disapproval, or fear of lack of approval. So, one thing that you can help to fix your filter and is learning to view situations realistically as is, instead of adding that negative message. And one way you can do that is to follow the evidence. I talk a lot to my clients about following evidence, and that means what has happened, what is real, what evidence do I have for my belief. So if you have evidence, then you've actually come to an accurate conclusion. But if you are drawing conclusions but there's no evidence of it, it's likely your own contaminating thinking that is causing you distress, suffering, negative interactions. So a lot of your suffering you're creating for yourself. And that's how negative belief systems work. We impose our negative beliefs on ourselves. And then because of that, we perpetuate whatever negative message we were given, which means you're sort of carrying on that trauma in your life, which seems really offensive if you've been really hurt in that way. So one way to heal is to change the message. And when you start looking for the evidence, you can see the truth and not necessarily the message that you're looking for. So you have a much clearer perspective. And that's when you can shift from what is me and how am I perpetuating this negative interaction or belief or circumstance, and then what is actual, real, factual. And then you can make much more authentic decisions or interpretations of the circumstance or your world or your relationships. And you can learn to trust yourself more in what you think. But you have to follow the evidence, which means, is this person really trying to listen to me? Or have I even given them a chance to listen to me? So if you cannot prove your theory, well, your belief, you cannot prove it with evidence, then it's imaginary. It's not happening. It's you. And when you learn to do that, you can heal. So that's today's little nugget, as one of my clients called it, to help you as you continue to heal or to, there's a fly, to adjust your beliefs so that you can experience a more authentic life. So that's it for today. I look forward to next time. You guys take care. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, just click below. Leave me a comment or give me some feedback. I love feedback. I'll respond to every comment. And thank you for sharing in this experience with me. Toodles. Have a great whatever.